Hey everyone, welcome back to Twin Formula One, the place where passion meets analysis and where we're gearing up for what might be one of the most unpredictable Formula One seasons we've had in years. And honestly, after watching the Bahrain pre-season tests on the 11th to the 13th of February, I'm not sure whether to be excited, concerned or just completely confused. We've got new rules, new regulations and completely redesigned cars, and while that should mean a fresh start for the grid, the test has left us with more questions than answers. So let's break down everything we saw, the surprises, the warning signs, the pace, reliability and what it might mean leading into the season opener. The big picture, a new era, sort of. Going into this test, the expectation was simple. 2026 style aero and power unit changes were supposed to shake up the order, lighter cars, simplified aero, reduced dirty air and more emphasis on driver skill. But after 3 days in Bahrain, I'm not convinced we're getting the revolution we were promised. Yes, the cars look different, yes they behave differently, but the competitive order, the balance, the stability, it all feels like a work in progress. And not necessarily in a good way. Some teams looked hooked up instantly, others looked like they were wrestling shopping trolleys in a sandstorm, and the gap between the best and the worst, it might be bigger than we hoped. Day one, early impressions and early problems. Day one is always about system checks, aero rakes, flow viz and pretending the lap times don't matter, even though we all know they do. But right from the start, a few things stood out. Some cars were bouncing again, not porpoising, but a weird mechanical oscillation under braking. Front end grip looked inconsistent across the grid. The new power unit mapping caused several teams to run conservative engine modes, and the wind, classic Bahrain, made the new aero packages look twitchy. The teams that looked calm and confident, they didn't panic when the track changed. The ones that struggled, you could see the engineers staring at the data screens like they were reading ancient hieroglyphs. Day two, the pace starts to show. Day two is when teams start pushing a little harder, and this is where the first real patterns emerged. Some cars suddenly came alive, others didn't. Long pace became the big talking point, and honestly the spread was worrying. The new regulations were supposed to tighten the field, but the data, unofficial of course, suggested we might still have a clear front runner. Tyre degradation was also a huge factor. The new construction seems more durable, but the cars that couldn't keep the rear tyres in the right window were sliding around like it was a drift event. Day three, the gloves come off. Day three is when everyone does the classic, we're not sandbagging, but even with fuel loads unknown and engine modes hidden, you can still read body language. Some teams look relaxed, others look like they were already preparing excuses for race week. The final hour of testing gave us the fastest laps of the week, and while you can't trust the times, you can trust the consistency, and that's where the real story is. Some teams hit their marks lap after lap, others had pace spikes followed by massive drop-offs that screen setup issues or deeper design problems. Winners of testing with a big asterisk. Let's talk about the teams that looked strong with the usual pre-season disclaimer that everything could be completely wrong. Mercedes looked planted, stable and confident, their long runs were tidy and the car didn't seem to have any major weaknesses. Red Bull surprised everyone with strong top speed numbers and impressive reliability. Ferrari looked like they've solved last year's weaknesses, but it's hard to know if they were running light. These teams leave Bahrain with momentum, but momentum in testing doesn't always translate to race pace. We've seen that story before. Teams in trouble, or at least pretending to be. Now for the worrying side. Some teams look lost, not just slow, lost. Rear instability was a recurring theme. Brake temperatures were a nightmare for at least two teams. Power delivery on the new hybrid systems looked unpredictable for several drivers. And one team, you know the one, spent more time in the garage than on track. Are they sandbagging? Maybe, but You can't hide body language. When a driver climbs out of the car shaking their head, that's not strategy, that's frustration. Driver reactions. Excitement meets uncertainty. The drivers were diplomatic, which is always a red flag. A lot of comments like, we're still learning, there's potential, we need to understand the cars better, it's too early to say. Translation, they don't fully trust the cars yet. A few drivers did look genuinely happy, especially those whose teams nailed the new aero philosophy, but others looked like they were trying to convince themselves that everything was going to be okay. What we learned and what we still don't know. What we did learn, the new regulations haven't magically equalised the field. Some teams adapted instantly, others are still searching for answers. The cars are faster in some corners, slower in others, and trickier to drive overall. Reliability is better than expected, but not perfect. Time management will be a huge factor this season. What we still don't know, the fuel loads, true engine modes, true performance order, whether the midfield is actually closer or just looks closer, and whether the new rules will improve racing or just create new problems. So my final thoughts, excited but cautious. So after 3 days in Bahrain, where does that leave us? Honestly, I'm excited. The cars look aggressive, the drivers are being pushed, and the season feels wide open. But I'm also skeptical. The regulations were supposed to simplify things, but the test showed us that complexity has just shifted, not disappeared. Some teams look ready to fight for wins, others look like they're already praying for upgrades. And the truth is, we don't really know the pecking order until qualifying at the season opener. But that's the beauty of Formula 1, isn't it? The uncertainty, the anticipation, the hope that this year finally we get the close, unpredictable racing we've been waiting for. Thanks for watching this full breakdown of the Bahrain pre-season test. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to Twin Formula 1 for more analysis, predictions, race reviews and everything F1 as we head into what could be a wild season. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who looked strong to you? Who looked in trouble? And who do you think is hiding the most pace? I'll see you in the next one, and bring on the season opener.